Hello, and welcome to another episode of Surviving the Narcissist. This is Wanda, and we look at narcissism from a personal, I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor, thriver, and overcomer. A professional, I'm a certified life coach, and I specialize in narcissistic abuse recovery and a spiritual perspective because affects a person, mind, body, and spirit. Uh, we're going to talk a little bit about 5 things that narcissistic mothers do. A lot of times, narcissism is a family disease. It starts in the family, and your first relationship is with your mother or whoever was your caregiver that functioned as a mother to you. And so when we look at 5 things that narcissistic mothers do, the number one thing is control. Narcissistic mothers like complete control. They're very domineering. I brought you into this world. And so the first thing is that they want to control everything. And we're not talking about from a perspective of them being your caretaker and protecting you because that's the mother's role. It's controlling um, what you wear, where you go as an adult. We're not talking about control as a child because when you're a child, that's your mother's role as a protector. But once you become a certain age, they don't let you develop normally through your stages of development because of control. Then a second thing that narcissistic mothers do is they like to manipulate, guilt trip, and emotional blackmail, which is all connected to the control or the gaslighting. Um, because let's say you want to move away, you want to establish an identity outside of the narcissistic mother, and then they'll guilt trip you. Well, uh, I'm your mother. The Bible says that you shall honor your mother and your father. Or why would you treat your mother that way? So they guilt trip you and they use emotional blackmail to keep you in control. The third thing they do is they pit or narcissistic mothers, and part of being having narcissism is that narcissists are very competitive and cutthroat jealous. And because they're that way, they teach their children to be that way. So instead of it being the siblings, the brothers and sisters love each other and they take care of each other because we're a family, their family values are based in competition and jealousy. So they will use the children against each other. So the golden child, which is the favorite, they'll have verses like the golden child versus the scapegoat. So the scapegoat is usually the target, or some people say they're the black sheep of the family. So they'll tell the uh, scapegoat, well, why you can't be like your brother and sister? They never give me any problems. They get straight A's. They do everything I tell them to do. And you're the exact opposite. So what that causes is the golden child is being assigned that role. And part of being the golden child is part of being um, a people pleaser, the family hero. So once they have that role, they feel like they need to maintain that role. And the scapegoat, sometimes the scapegoat ends up liking the role. Even though they don't like being the target or the black sheep, as time goes on, that role is on them, so they are rebellious. And that causes a conflict because the golden child and the black sheep don't like each other, because the black sheep or the scapegoat is jealous because they're not the favorite like the golden child. And so, because these roles and these behaviors were instilled in them in childhood, they will continue. For instance, just like in my family of origin, we never had a family reunion. Because everything's a competition, it's jealousy, who's going to do what, because somebody might have a good idea, they'll sabotage, they'll gaslight. And so it becomes, instead of it being something enjoyable, because of the narcissistic behaviors, it ends up being something negative that nobody wants to participate in. Like, who wants to pay money for a t-shirt, pay money to go to the activities, and you really don't want to be around the people? And so a lot of times the family reunion will fall apart before the actual date because there's all this competitive competition and jealousy between the cousins and that the sister's kids, the brother. It's really dysfunction. But the dysfunction started somewhere. Another thing that narcissistic mothers do is they use their children as a trophy or a pawn. So their children, as a child of a narcissistic parent, you're not really allowed to develop your own identity. You're seen as an extension of the parents, and they tend to live vicariously through their children. So if they were, and there's nothing wrong with wanting your children to have the best and to be all that they can be, but it's the control and things that they couldn't do as a child, they want their children to do. Well, your child might not like cheerleading. They don't have any desire to be a cheerleader. Maybe the parent or the mother couldn't engage in those activities. Your parent may have wanted to go to college and they weren't able to go. So they want you to go to college. Well, there's nothing wrong with your parent wanting you to go to college. But then it could be vice versa. Um, they don't want their kids to go to college. I did a video, which I'm going to update that video about graduation season. And that's when you really see a lot of competition and jealousy because instead of just celebrating people, they can't celebrate anybody but themselves. Or they can only celebrate the golden child, or they can only celebrate the favorite. And then the fifth thing that narcissistic mothers do is conditional love. Instead of the love being unconditional, the love is conditional or what we call transactional. Well, if you do what I tell you to do, then I love you. If you don't tell me, if you don't do what I tell you to do, you get verbally abused. If you live the lifestyle that I want you to live, I'm happy. Conditional. If you don't, I may not talk to you. It's a silent treatment. So that's why people that were raised by narcissistic mothers or narcissistic families have so much problems with self-esteem and addiction and trauma because it creates a hole in a person's soul and their whole life they're trying to fill it. So they fill it with things that aren't healthy, or they don't know what love is, or they're looking for love in all the wrong places. And if you can relate to this video, or If you can relate to having a relationship with that type of mother, please comment on it. What are some of the things that your parents did to you or your mother did to you that you were growing up? And you always knew that it wasn't right, but you didn't have a name for it. You didn't know, and we're talking about the behavior. It was narcissistic behavior. And also, please like, subscribe, and share. And also, please visit the website www.vision of recovery. I do one-on-ones and I have information about how you can go from being a narcissistic abuse survivor to a thriver and eventually an overcomer and to be who God meant you to be. And until next time, be blessed. And thank you for watching.